Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Razorstrike. I want to welcome you to flight school. Now, I know Battlefield's been out for a couple months. You're like, oh, he's making another video for flying. Everybody's got a video for flying. You know, I just picked it up recently. In the past month and a half, I've had a lot of success with flying. So hopefully I can share some tips, tricks on all these different types of airplanes and give you some insight on how to survive in the sky and take out some people down on the ground. All right, let's jump right into it. The various types of airplanes you can pilot in Battlefield can cause a lot of havoc. You have the fighter planes that can rule the sky. You can engage in some epic dogfights. You have the attack planes who offer a mix of ground and air support. Then you have the bombers that can clear out points by dropping a large payload of bombs upon enemies. Now, before you get started, I would suggest to you that you find an empty server. It's very easy to do. You don't want to get into a real game and not know what you're doing and you end up getting yelled at by your teammates. Very easy to find a server. Just change your filters on your server browser. I would suggest Monte Grappa, Empire's Edge, St. Quentin, and Sinai. The best ones for flying and a lot of cliffs and mountainsides that you can fly in between, get good practice doing that. So we'll give a quick overview of the three different types of planes and their loadouts. So we will start with the attack plane first. They do a decent amount of damage to air and ground forces. They have good turning, decent speed. The first loadout is going to be the ground support. It's going to do a lot of damage to infantry on points. You can also drop some fragmentation bombs. The tank hunter has a nose cannon, which does a lot of damage to mobile armor and bomber ships. Then you also have the airship buster, which is going to do a lot of damage to airship behemoths whenever they pop up. Also has rockets with it, and then it has a turbo boost to quickly escape whenever you need to get away from those AA guns on the behemoth. Next we have the bombers. They are the slowest of all three airplanes and they turn a little bit harder, but they do have a front and a back gunner. So the first loadout is going to be the barrage bomber. It's going to be able to drop two different types of bombs. Next is the firestorm bomber. It's going to be able to set people on fire. And then lastly, you have the torpedo bomber, which is pretty good for taking out the dreadnoughts on the sea. Lastly, you have the fighter planes. They are the fastest of all the planes and have better turning than any of them. Really good for chasing down attack planes and bomber planes. First is the dogfighter. It's going to have twin machine guns and emergency repair. Bomber killer, same thing, but with rockets. And then the trench fighter is going to have twin machine guns also and explosive darts to be able to take out infantry. So whenever you find an empty server, you need to try out all three different types of airplanes. You need to get a feel for how fast they go, how they turn, and the different loadouts and gadgets that you can use for each of these airplanes. So we're over some basic controls now. So I'm going to go over controls with the keyboard. You press the S key, it's going to be throttle down. W is going to be throttle up. A is going to be yaw left. D is going to be yaw right. Now the pitch controls that I use are going to be on my mouse, but you can also use the arrow keys to pitch up and down to climb and dive. I will also use the mouse to roll the plane left and right, but you can also use the arrow keys also. Now you will be able to switch perspectives by hitting the C button on your keyboard to go from third and first person. I have free look set to my mouse button, my middle mouse button, so I can look around from the back, see if anybody's chasing me or get a better view of the battlefield. I switch weapons and gadgets from my 1, 2, 3, and 4 keys. For my weapons and bombs or flares, you will be able to shoot with your left mouse button. And if you're in first person perspective, you can zoom in using your right mouse button. You can also fire using the space bar. Now in attack planes and bombers, you can switch to the gunner seat anytime by hitting one of the corresponding keys, F1 through F3, and then switching back to your pilot. Now let's talk about turning. So if you want to make a tight turn, I would roll the plane to whichever way you're gonna turn. Bring the speed way down and use the pitch to keep easing into that turn. Now for faster turns, make sure that the throttle is way up. You're hitting your yaw at the same time as you're turning, and you'll make some really nice quick turns, especially if you're in a dogfight trying to chase somebody. Now for a loop turn, you want to accelerate as fast as you can, start pitching up and turning into a loop. Your plane will be upside down, then roll your plane right side up. You're going to be right back on a point that you just might have attacked or spotted. Very awesome for setting up strafing runs. If you happen to need to repair your plane out of sight from AA guns, you can land your airplane in a field. Empire's Edge is really good for that. Jump out of the airplane, use your repair kit tool, or repair in there and then take right back off. Alright, let's get to the nitty gritty of things, attacking. So whenever you're setting up strafe runs for ground attacks, you want to make sure that your plane has climbed to a high altitude. Then you want to start to pitch down on your target, start to fire and begin a dive. Hopefully your teammates will have spotted, or you have a flare down, you'll be able to see where the enemy is at. Now as you're firing into the crowd, you want to make sure to get as many kills as you can, but make sure to pull up at the last minute so you don't crash, but then also switch to your bombs and drop them. You're guaranteed to get some kills as you fly off into the distance. The same principle applies to tank hunters and the explosive darts on the fighter planes. Now when you're using the bombers and you're approaching the point that you want to drop bombs on, you want to make sure that you throttle down so you can be able to drop that ordnance properly and get kills and clear out points for your teammates. Now when it comes to airplanes, there's a priority of attacking things. First of all, if there's any other airplanes in the sky, you need to take those guys out before you can focus on the ground forces. So you're going to have to do a little bit of dogfighting. Dogfighting is basically the plane-to-plane combat that you're going to experience in Battlefield. Ideally, if you're going to be engaged in a lot of air-to-air combat, you're going to be using the fighter planes. As I mentioned before in the overview, they have a higher rate of fire, they turn quicker, and they're faster than any other airplane. You can engage quickly, or you can also disengage if you're taking a lot of damage. So your sole focus in dogfighting is to either take out a wing or disable their engine, so it's going to force them to do one of two things. They're either going to have to eject and then you have taken them out of the fight, or you're going to have to force them to escape and repair. If you can stay with them long enough while they're trying to repair, you'll be able to take them out of the sky. Now if you are chasing a really good pilot, they will slow down so you accelerate right past them and then they engage you. So be able to watch your speed so you don't get top gunned. As a fighter plane, you need to know when to engage and when to disengage. If you're trying to take down a bomber and they have really good gunners and you're taking a lot of damage, you need to bail out of there. Hit the edge of the map, repair, and then re-engage. Another cool trick for dogfighting too, if you're flying the attack plane, you're flying solo, switch to the gunner seat, take out a fighter plane, then switch back in time for you to not hit a wall or the ground, fly off and repair. Easy kill. So some general tips on just staying alive in any of the airplanes, especially if you have a gunner. You're being chased by a fighter plane, you want to slow down as much as you can, keep your plane as level as you can so your back gunner can get the drop on them and take those guys out before you guys get taken out. Communicate as much as you can with your teammates. They should be spotting for you, telling you where enemy armor is, and you should be able to tell them where any enemies are approaching from different points. This way you guys will be able to help cap points and take out any big clusters of enemies. Learn these maps as much as you can. Learn the ins and outs of every map. Use the environment to your advantage to help you escape and repair, to hide from enemy fighter planes, also where every single one of these AA encampments are, because you need to take those out as much as you can. The AA guns or anti-air guns will put a damper in your day, because somebody who's really good can take you out of the sky with ease. Your teammates need to take these guys out, or if you get a good drop on these guys, you can drop some ordnance to be able to take those guys out. If the other team is doing a very good job of holding those points with the AA guns, you're just going to have to avoid those certain areas until your teammates can take it. If you happen to get surprised by an AA gun, you need to climb and then start barrel rolling. It's going to help you avoid fire until you can get to a safe altitude. Then you can get to the edge of the map and repair and then re-engage. Really cool trick that you can try is that you can accelerate your plane all the way up into the sky. Eventually your plane will stall out. when your plane stalls out, it will start going into a dive. This is also a perfect time to start repairing your airplane. This is very good to escape from enemies and setting up strafing runs. As I mentioned earlier before, you can also barrel roll to avoid enemy fire and AA guns. To initiate a roll, make sure that you're at full throttle. You want to use your yaw and your mouse to start rolling your airplane. Continuously roll it, especially if somebody's behind you or if you're taking enemy fire from an AA gun. Hopefully it'll help you avoid some fire so you can escape. Thank you guys for checking out my video. I hope I was able to give you some insight on all these planes and maybe share some stuff that you might have not known. Any questions or comments are always welcome, guys. Just please leave them down in the comment section. If you liked the video, please hit that like button for me and drop a sub. Good luck with your training, guys, and hopefully I'll see you in the sky.